actually picture yourself at business school for 2 years at one of the world's top institutions. You might have a Nobel Prize winning professor at the front of the room. You'll be surrounded by very smart, ambitious, intellectually curious classmates. But it's 2 years of freedom. There will be extraordinary career outcomes and you're going to learn so much. But there's academic freedom to look at the world in a new way. There's the freedom to take risks. And there's the freedom to define what will be your impact in the world. And that is my very natural introduction to our session today with Donna Swinford. Donna is the Associate Dean for MBA Admissions at Chicago Booth. Donna, it's lovely to have you with us. I probably don't do justice to Booth with those few words. It's a school that you know very well. You've enjoyed a very successful career at the school. What does make Booth such a special place?
Yeah, thank you, Matt, for having me. First of all, yes, I've been here for quite a while. I started at business school in '97. And over the past 25 years, I've been given personally a lot of opportunities to grow here at Booth. I started in career services as an IT manager. And in 2019, I was offered the role of Associate Dean of Admissions. So during that time, I've had a lot of opportunity to interact with our community at different levels. And I think there's three things that really make Booth special, from my different observations. And first, it's really the people. The people that I've been able to meet, all these memorable applicants who've given me the opportunity to read their essays, and some of them I will never forget. Our students who volunteer with our admissions office, who will sit in my office for hours and just brainstorming different ideas. And also just our alumni who then come back years later to say how we were able to really change and impact their life. Funny story, this past fall, I had an alum email me wanting to meet with me when he was visiting campus. And so Ben came in and we sat down and he just said, I just want to thank you. You helped me 25 years ago when he started the program in '97 when I was in career services. And I guess I helped him with this awful resume writing software we had. And the students now have no idea how easy they have it writing resumes, but it was this floppy disk software that we had. But it was really humbling because he was talking about how I had this positive impact on his career. And he says that if he had not gotten his resume right, he wouldn't have been able to achieve the success he had in his career. I think he would have achieved it anyways. I don't think it was me. But he came back and just shared that I had this impact. And so I say that because I think that we as a school have all these opportunities, no matter where you are positioned in the school, to impact our students in a positive way. Now, the second reason why I think that Booth is so special is just the city of Chicago itself. My husband and I, we've raised our 3 kids here. We're huge Cubs fans. And the students really love everything that the city has to offer. The sports, food, culture, and really the convenience of being centrally located here in the States. You can fly to either coast in a matter of hours. There's many nonstop flights anywhere in the world. And we're also really a hub of some very important industries, including an ever-growing entrepreneurial space. We have fantastic summers, and we have over 20 miles of lakeshore that our students are able to enjoy. And then lastly, I think that Booth, what makes it special is the lifelong impact you'll experience, just as you had mentioned at the beginning. We really prepare our students not just for their first job post-MBA, but for their career. We teach them how to approach the unforeseeable circumstances that they'll have to navigate throughout their career. We don't know what they're going to experience, but we want to make sure that they're prepared for anything by being able to ask the right questions, look at different circumstances through different lenses. When I talk to alumni, they tell me how much they use what they learned in the classroom and about the confidence that they gained. So the degree, it literally changes life. Nothing is more special than that.
Right. You talk about, memorable applications. It must be wonderful to then meet that individual as they, come to the school, and then 5 years, 10, 15 years later, as you said, it's across a career span. That must be a magical part of your work.
It is. And I'll share a little insights, but I think it can also, because I know a lot of people's stories and I may have never met them in person. And then when I meet them in person, I know a lot about them. And so I can kind of, so it's just a little interesting that I can say, wow, how's your mom? And they're looking at me, how do you know this? But we get a lot of insights into people from different facets.
I can imagine when I think about the warmth of the Midwest and Chicago, but also such a very cosmopolitan city that you were describing, provides a great backdrop for the importance of diversity in the Booth community. But your diversity also very, very collaborative and supportive. How does that then impact on that 2-year experience and the sort of personal and professional growth that each of your students experiences?
Yeah, I was just talking to a student about this, and we were talking just about diversity in her classroom and how it's personally impacted her. That she has just been so amazed by the classmates that she has in each of her classrooms. She sees it in their backgrounds, the industry experience, where they are from, what they studied in school, just their family makeup. Some of our students are parents, and some are married to other students, their personalities, and also just their opinions. But she was really just amazed by how much she was learning from her peers in the classroom and not just from the faculty. And how important that exposure to these different viewpoints, different expertise, how it really enriches and enhances the entire experience for everyone in that room. And it's not just in that room, it's also everything else that they participate within the community. So their student groups, how they recruit, social activities, you name it. This just having people who are different than you around you really will influence the type of leader that you will become and how you will approach the world, professionally and also just in your personal lives.
Right. That first day at Booth, and you walk in, candidates thinking, oh, everybody else is so smart. Where's my place in all of this? But that quickly dissolves away with that collaborative warmth and support that you're describing.
Very much so. I think we have a very, very solid pay it forward community that you can only be as strong as in other words, your role is really to support others in your community. And in return, you get support from your peers. And that's very important.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I talk about smart students. Every year you'll publish an entering class profile for the MBA, and it will have different data points, details about the applicants, percentage of women, international students, some impressive GPA and GMAT, part of the academic rigor, of course, at the school. But take us beyond that snapshot, because sometimes those data points can be maybe inhibitive or it can be reductive to the sort of diversity that you're describing.
Yeah, I definitely think that, every time I look at our class profile, I look at other data points we may be able to add to that. You've seen through the years, we've added some new ones, just to be more transparent. We've also, for the most part, published full ranges, not just the 80th percentile, so that people can see that we do have people at both ends of the spectrum. And we want to make sure that people don't self-select out of applying, or at least exploring what Booth has to offer.
Right.
Because everyone, you're more than a data point. You're a full person who comes with a different story. And it's incredibly easy to get fixated on the data that you see on the website.
Yeah.
But again, the averages, they don't tell the full story of who everyone is. Every year on the first day of orientation, our Deputy Dean, Star Marcello, during her welcome, will introduce the class. And she'll share the stats that are on the website, some other numbers such as how many unique colleges people attended and whose birthday it is that day. That's some other fun facts. But she also starts sharing some of the stories that people shared in their application. So this past year, we had someone who was taught how to body surf by Barack Obama. Someone who has completed over 200 successful escape room attempts. We have someone who is a Yelp Elite status member. Someone who performed as a dancer on America's Got Talent. We have people who are professional athletes. And we also had someone who competed on The Bachelorette this past summer. These are all things that people share about themselves in the application. And I really think that we value this holistic approach of reviewing applications because each person is an individual. And we want to get to know each candidate themselves and what makes them unique. And then and that's why we look at the entire application. We consider all the data points that people provided. And also we try to understand each person's unique story.
Right, right. Well, but someone that was on The Bachelorettes, I can understand why you might know something about their mom. Certainly their mom needs to know what they've been doing. I mean, bringing all of that together and the sort of the magic recipe, of course, it's not a science, but are there certain fundamental ingredients that I talked earlier about intellectual curiosity and the freedom to take risks? Are there certain things that you identify in a Booth student?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely some traits or some attributes that we do look at. Not everyone has everything, but we look to see how the person's balanced. We look to see people's how collaborative someone is, self-aware, self-reliant, resourceful is very important. Showing good judgment, humility, if they're focused, intellectual curiosity. These are all things that we look for within the applications. We look also for things that we want to make sure people aren't narrow-minded, under collaborative, unrealistic. So those kind of things too.
Yeah. And you talk about self-aware and self-reliant. Of course, there's this wonderful LEAD program and behavioral skills that so when someone says, oh, Booth finance, it's a quant school. I mean, it's so much more.
It is. It really is. And you just mentioned LEAD. So LEAD is the only required class here at Booth. It is actually the first class that starts and the first class that ends. And the way that LEAD works is it really gives our students the opportunity to look inward, to understand how other people see them, as well as how they want to be seen. And they go through some different exercises. Like one exercise is you'll be in a room with a group of about 10 people, and they will film you. And then you are then required to watch yourself in this conversation. Are you the person who is dominating the conversation? Are you the person who's not contributing? And then what you're doing is, the reason why this class starts first and ends first is then you get the next 2 years to really practice what you learned.
Right.
And being able to take that, what you learned, and being able to apply it to leadership roles that you may seek out at the school, or even in your study groups within the classroom. Maybe you want to help organize one of our conferences. So you're able to take this and then fine tune it for the 2 years, so that by the time you graduate, you feel more confident in your leadership ability, what you'll take to your roles that you'll have post MBA.
Yeah, the Booth website has lots of great advice around the application, but even as you look at FAQs, the info sessions, perhaps any of the essentials that you then like to sort of pick out and say, oh, be mindful of this, whether it's recommenders that you might be choosing, just that would be helpful insights for our viewers.
So I usually use this as my advice when someone asks, but I really want to emphasize, make sure you answer all the questions, and make sure you answer the question that the school is asking. It's really easy for you to say, I already wrote this essay for this question, let me just modify it for this. But sometimes it's best to just take the new question and rewrite or write it from scratch. You'll be amazed at how many people leave sections blank. Now, every school has the application set up in a certain way because I want to assess in a certain way. So if you decide to not list any activities, you're wasting an opportunity.
Right.
I think it's important for people to recognize that this is what you submit is the only thing that reader will know about you. So don't waste an opportunity.
Right.
We look at your ability to be successful in the classroom. So we have access to your GRE or GMAT score, your academic record, plus your work experience. So we look to see for evidence that you will be successful.
Mm.
We look to be for evidence that you know what you're getting yourself into. Are you ready for this investment in yourself? Do you understand what your goals are and how they align with what you are bringing to the table? So that when you get here, you can hit the ground running, because that's very important. This MBA experience is extremely fast.
Mm.
It starts even before you set foot on campus, and we want to make sure that you're ready for that.
Mm.
And then lastly, we want to see how you're going to contribute to the community. We look to see any insights that your recommenders give us, any past experience that you've had being part of teams or different organizations that you've been part of. So we look for evidence to just see how you will contribute.
Right.
And each person, your application, you may have had one or two activities that you were really invested in and took a lot of time. And you may have, 10 different activities that you were really experimenting with how you wanted to be involved. Or you might also have a job that has required you to be focused because you travel a lot. We kind of understand those things. So we've been rating a lot of applications. So I really don't want people to be worried that if they only have 2 activities to list, that's just you. And talk about why that is and be able to present yourself.
Yeah, and perhaps we can't emphasize enough. You talked about really answering the question, but not sort of thinking, well, what am I expected to say? What does Donna's team want to hear from me? It's the individual's voice.
Exactly. And it's really hard to be someone you're not. So let us know who you are as a person.
Right. That's great advice. Now, here we are at the beginning of a calendar year, halfway through the academic year. And there's the Booth Scholars Program for individuals perhaps in their final year of college, or they might be completing their masters. What are the potential benefits for a current student without the years of work experience to then know that their place is safe for them at Booth up to 5 years, but in the 2 to 5 years down the road?
Yeah. So our deferred admissions program, as you said, the Chicago Booth Scholars, we've been around since 2003. So it originally was only open to Chicago students, but I think in 2018, we expanded the program to be open to any college senior or recent graduate. But to be honest, I think deferred admissions really allows those who have a plan to start preparing early. Applying earlier, knowing what your options are in the future can be appealing for some, not for everyone, but for some people who kind of have an idea of what they see their career looking like in the future. Deferred admissions can also be very competitive compared to the regular cycle, since the candidates have a little less experience to highlight. So how we look at the application may be a little bit different. Right. We know a lot of our candidates who are successful have experience in leadership roles on campus. They usually are rather successful in the classroom, as well as may have had an internship or two that they partook in as an undergrad. Right. And while people apply and are denied, we see a lot of people who were denied as scholars be successful after a couple of years of work experience. Right.
So there's no downside if you apply for Booth Scholars and then you don't get a place at that point. You can apply later and have just as good as a chance.
Yeah, and that extra time really allows people to grow and to better understand why an MBA will align with their career goals.
Well,
and for those who
on that point, the idea of knowing who we want to be, the path we want to take at 21 or 22, I was still working it out 10, 20 years later, but there'll be many that are not sure that business school fits in their future plans. So what is your advice to then consider Booth Scholars and the option it would give you?
Yeah, my advice would be to engage with our community, but don't feel like you have to apply. This is just the first opportunity that someone has to apply for an MBA program. But if you don't feel that this is something you really want to do, you don't have to apply now. You are given the rest of your life to apply for an MBA. I don't think people should feel rushed into applying, because it is a process, and I don't think everyone needs to apply at that time.
Right.
Enjoy your last year of school
Yeah.
instead of focusing on these applications.
And so you mentioned you're talking to alums. If I were to sit down with Booth students, or, and ask them, well, what's been the most memorable or the most unexpected part of your experience? What sort of things do they share with you?
So I'm going to admit I cheated. But I did meet with some students this morning for breakfast, and I have some of their answers. So
Fantastic.
if you don't mind, I would rather be more authentic.
Straight from the source. That's perfect.
And reading from the source, yes. So one of our students, she said that she's just been so impressed by her diverse friend circle, that she had never been so exposed to diversity at this level, that they're partaking in each other's festivals, learning about each other's dances, cultures, attire, and visiting each other's countries and going to weddings. I guess she wrote weddings. But that's been the most enjoyable form of education for her. Then someone else mentioned the interacting with the professors outside of classroom hours, that most of the professors have been very forthcoming and carving time to meet with students. And they've had some really great life discussions with a couple of faculty members, and it's been very rewarding. Another one is travel. We had 500 students last week fly to Europe to go skiing. So there's a lot of travel during business school. But not only do you get to travel, you get to travel with different people each time. So you get really exposed to a lot of your different classmates. The classroom experience, the lessons they are learning, the frameworks we are developing that are going to have lasting impact on their career. They feel prepared to take on everything or anything.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things. So I think, again, it starts with some of the things that we started out at the beginning, talking about the people and about the impact, and also the community. Yeah.
I like that both the availability of the professors and the commitment that shows, but also no one's talked about discounted cash flow after the class. It's life lessons and where that will take them. It's such a wonderful opportunity for exploration. So next steps, any of our viewers, we can share this, but for them to really get a taste of it, how would you recommend them to interact with you and your team, get a better sense of the Booth MBA program, good ways to connect with you?
I think there's some easy ways for you to engage with our community. And now that we have so many virtual options, that you can do them at your own convenience. We have many different recordings available of different events. Our master classes with our faculty member are available online for you to watch. We have Zoom in on Booths, where you can interact with our current students. So in other words, try to engage with us in ways that you want to be engaging with us. We will also be on the road this summer, late spring, summer. So if you want to meet us in person, some of our alumni, you have that opportunity. I also encourage you to just reach out to alumni and students who may be in your own network, just to talk to them about their experience. We also have a tool that's open to anyone. It's called Connect with a Student, that you can go to our website and select some different attributes to be matched with students. Excellent. And our volunteers are very happy to meet with you and just talk about how they have been impacted by the Booth community.
I can imagine how valuable that is. And of course, if you get tickets for Chicago Cubs game, what is it? Row 8, third seat down.
Yeah. I think I might have sat there one time. I don't know. But yeah, or the bleachers. Yeah.
Great. Well, Donna, I mean, the legacy of IT services, but the career, and even how you reflect on how Booth has helped you and given you opportunities to grow, but for you to share it and capture some of that magic. Thank you very much for joining us at Center Court.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was fun talking with you, Matt.